Okay, thank you. It is 3:59 by my clock. So we'll call the meeting to order, and I'll start out with the checklist to ensure the meeting is compliant with the state's right to know laws. So if you bear with me, I will read this through. So as chairman of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Finance Subcommittee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Finance Subcommittee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the platform, and public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the phone number of 1-646-558-658, 1-646-558-8656, with a meeting ID of 912-6451-8091, or by clicking the following address, which can be found on the SAU17.org website. It would be right there. It's a long YouTube address. Providing public notice of the necessary information for access meeting is section B. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of Sanborn Regional School District, www.sau17.net. Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If any has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and will be rescheduled. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by a roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So I will start. Jamie Fitzpatrick, Chair of the Finance Subcommittee, and I am at home in my office alone. And I'll just go by how I see people. Matt?
Yeah, I'm Matt Angel. I'm at the SAU offices, and I am alone.
Don?
Dawn Dutton. I am at home and I am alone.
Jim?
Yeah, Jim Baker. I'm at home alone.
And Tom?
Tom Ambrose. I'm on my front porch alone until something goes wrong. In the backyard, but we're doing okay for now.
I'm going to add that stipulation as well.
We got an awful lot on the agenda, so I want to get right to it. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes from May the 6th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, can I, any discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call vote? Dawn?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself as a yes. I see in the agenda that we have the revolving trust and the budget reports. Seeing as we did those on May 6th and they haven't changed because they're April 30th dates, I will skip over those unless there's any angst with that. If anybody wants to see them again.
I'm fine.
No.
Okay. And then I'd like to, because in the last meeting, we talked about the end of year spending Excel sheet, and then we didn't get to it. So I'd like to start with that to give everybody the overview from Matt, and then we'll have the framework to get into the particulars of the financial accounting and some of the other things that Matt is looking at that we really need to start cranking on. So Matt, since you're going to step us through that, could you bring that up and share? And that way I think I can still see people if questions come up. But I know if I'm sharing, I can't see anybody.
All right, can you see this worksheet?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. All right, so basically the way this is broken out, there's multiple pieces to this, okay? The first part is more or less looking at the sources and uses on a budgetary basis of the revenues and expenditures. So at the top right here would be the surplus revenues. These are the revenues that are above the budget revenues that were used to set the tax rate. So we're paying about $238,721 in revenues above projection. Okay? Moving down, under uses, what we're spending our money on. The first one is unencumbered health insurance. Right now we're at $402,000. What we have available for non-health insurance appropriate is $1.5 million. It comes to a total of $1.9 million that's available for expenditure. You know that the bus company has given back $44,760, and that's going to be added back because we haven't adjusted the two numbers above yet. So it's just shy of $2 million available. These are down below this. These are additional costs that we have remaining for the end of the year, and these are larger costs. So we're going to have some other smaller costs that are not included. And we'll be adjusting the numbers up here above accordingly for smaller numbers. So the first item is the memorial roof repair. I took it off of this column when calculating this because that's going to be coming out of the facilities rental revolving fund. Not going to be funded through the appropriation above. We also have the memorial entrance. I'm assuming it's going to be about 60,000. We still.
And Matt, just if I could jump in there, I had made the comment about the Tom Ambrose quote from the architecture. Clarification: the architecture has not given us a quote saying this can be done by me for 60,000. The architecture said to Tom, and Tom quoted the architecture as saying he thinks that it could be brought in for under $60,000. So I just want that clarification there, because it's not really a hard quote in our hands that says that. It is an estimate that it could be done for up to 60,000. I would expect, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're using internal, somehow your target is to beat that and beat it handily. But
yeah. So what we're trying to do right now is we're going to try to be the general contractor for this particular job, and so that means that I'm going to be using in-house staff to do the demolition, install the doors, install the security glass, and I think I'm going to be using some outside help for putting down the concrete blocks. We want to make sure that that's all done correctly, and maybe cutting openings in the concrete. So. Now moving down.
Excuse me. Before we move, Matt, do you have a ballpark rough estimate of what you think that number will come in at
For the
entryway?
Right now, the ballpark number is 60,000, and it's starting to firm up. I spoke to the architect this morning, to try to firm that up, and we should be getting numbers rolling in the next week or two.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Now, paving changes to the high school. Right now, the estimate is just under $60,000. I'm assuming it's going to be about $25,000 in just paving costs, and then about almost $35,000 in oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the word. Part of it is line striping, parking lot.
Sealing.
Oh, seal coating and line striping the parking lot. And part of the problem is we're going to have a change of traffic flow throughout the parking lot. So we kind of have to erase the line striping that's currently there, put down new line striping, and then number all the spaces, because we're going to go to numbered spaces for all the students and staff. The next item down, $210,000, is for the middle school locker room. This is the middle school bathroom and locker room. This is the the bids that the school board approved at the last meeting. Phone system for $46,000. This was also a bid that was to the school board at the last meeting. Now, second floor doors for the middle school, not included in the $210,000 up above here, relates to a set of doors on the second floor to segregate the middle school from the high school at the high school. Okay, I'm going to try to do that in-house.
Matt, question on that. I thought that the 210 consisted of, in that original quote, also a pair of doors as the alternative. I thought the 210 was both the quote and the alternate, which included doors.
Yeah, the alternative are a separate set of emergency doors that were at the backside of the bathrooms.
So separate set of doors.
Yeah, separate to the doors that were up above in the second floor.
Okay.
So basically, the alternatives were ones that we were going to actually have to cut holes in the concrete walls and have put in emergency doors that would spill out into the bus entrance behind that wall. And we decided that the cost was probably not. We weren't going to get our money back on it. So
then potentially the 210 would come down by whatever that alternate was on North Point.
That's correct. Let's see. We have 2 computer labs that we had to chew up for middle school into the high school. So I had to replace those at the high school. Essentially, it is just getting an electrician to move the wiring from one location to another. And we're assuming it's going to be about $15,000. Converting the book room to a classroom. So now we have a storage room that's over 1,000 square feet per the educational administrative laws in New Hampshire. We can't have a space more than 900 square feet for class space. So what we have to do is we have to cut the space open. Cut it down, and we're going to put in a storage closet for this classroom, and this is going to be a maker space. We're also, before we were talking about putting some windows in this room, and windows alone, just to make it match, because they're going to have to be custom windows, were $24,000. What we decided to do is, instead of putting in windows in this classroom, is to put in a double set of doors, commercial doors, with windows in the doors. So that will bring light into the classroom. Also move materials in and out of the classroom from the exterior of the building. So we're going to try to do this work also internally because it's just essentially putting up walls. We're going to use our same HVAC vendor and our sprinkler system vendor. And then we're going to have to hire out someone to cut in the concrete for the door. Let's see, Chromebooks. And actually, I'm going to ask that later on in the meeting, I'm going to see if I can add in an item to approve a budget adjustment to buy 400 Chromebooks, and it's $94,000.
Question.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, there's some alternative possible funding for that though as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. Right now I have it as coming out of the general fund because that's the default fund. Without approval from the state government, the state, we can't use, it first has to be programmed to the general fund before we get approval from the state, okay? Now the next one down, I don't actually have a cost for it, and this is graduation costs. We're in graduation costs just because the graduation ceremony is not standard as compared to what we're experiencing in prior years. So, for example, we're going to have to rent some camera equipment that we wouldn't normally have to. Also, we're going to have a tent over the stage, but we don't have chairs to rent. So we have some additional graduation costs. We just don't know what they are. Next one down here is new cameras at Bakey. Right now, we're renting a video server for baking. I need to replace that because our original ones failed. And then also, we need to upgrade the cameras at baking. We had an incident last year where we need to look at video, and you just can't see. It's not quality enough video to really gauge what's going on in the video. So administration is saying that our must-haves are $540,000. Scroll down a little further. These are additional spendings that we would like to have. The first one is a new accounting system. I removed it from the general fund appropriations because I'm going to ask to have this funded out of the facilities rental revolving fund. No impact to the taxpayers. The next one down here is the high school elevator upgrade. Basically, what this is going to do is put a swipe card system in the elevator, because right now we have a lot of kids using the elevator during the day, and they use it to vape and do all sorts of stuff in the elevator. We want to use the card access system that we have right now for the door access to the elevator during school hours. It will be open after school hours, because we can program that in with a computer. Teacher laptops. We're at about $125,000. We need to start upgrading the teacher laptops. We truly need about $250,000, but we'd like to start off with this for $125,000 initially.
Question.
Go ahead, Jim.
Matt, can you go into a little bit more detail on the teacher laptops?
Yeah. So what we've experienced with the shutdown because of COVID-19 is that a lot of the teachers have older laptops, and some of those laptops are 5 to 7 years old. Some of them don't have cameras, and we've had to make some accommodations to make sure that they can hold their classes and still be seen by their students. We really need to turn over our old fleet of teacher laptops. I would prefer to try to some of this equipment, but to get by, I'm going to ask for an initial purchase of $125,000 to replace them. I'd like to try to make it so that what we're doing is we're rolling over the teachers' computers once every 3 years. So basically a third, and then if it's in the lease agreement, then we're handing back the equipment after the end of the lease agreement, and we don't have to manage antiquated equipment like we do right now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So are the teachers' laptops different? Are they Chromebooks or something else?
They're Dell Latitudes. They're similar to the laptop I use that I'm using right now. So they're business type laptops.
Mm-hmm. Does that include the software for the laptops?
It will. Basically, what we have to do is we have to configure all the laptops so that they're all identical, and then image them. So the price would include all the software associated that the teachers would need to conduct their business.
So Tom, go ahead. You got your hand up.
Thank you, Jamie. It's important for everyone to note that I'm saying this for the public so that they know, and I'm sorry for my weird view. I had to move to the corner to charge my computer. I do want everyone to know that the purpose of buying the laptops is being motivated by two factors. One is some of our laptops are very, very old, 7, 8 years. They are absolutely end of life or beyond. They have to be replaced in a cycle no matter what we do. The problem is it's being driven into this time, not because of the surplus at all. It's being driven into this time because if we don't order computers now, we're going to be so far behind the ordering process that we won't be able to get them for the fall. That's the real problem. And if we're remote again next year, and again, I'm not saying that we're going to be remote in September. I'm not saying that it's not a possibility. It is a possibility. But the reality is that if we end up remote in November, if COVID-19 peaks up again, the computers that teachers are using are not adequate. And we may be able to, it's very likely that we'll be able to apply the grant funding that we've received from the federal government for the purpose of covering these computers, which helps us on many levels. So I just, for the public's sake, I want them to understand the computers have to be on a rotation and part of the capital plan. And that will happen as part of our strategic planning next year. But we do have a situation where we've got devices that don't function and we need to move forward. I just think it's important for everyone to understand why the timing is right now. It's not by choice. It's being driven by the market availability. Matt, is that accurate?
Yeah. Okay, can I move on?
Yeah, I'd like you to wrap this up, then I'll touch.
Okay, so I'm sorry. We have a washer and dryer at Memorial School. We want to hook that up. It's $1,300. So the total additional cost for this year is $670,000. So that means the net available funds from the appropriation is $1.3 million. If you add it into the revenue, it's going to be $1.5 million. Now, if you take what was reserved last year in the contingency fund, which is $400,000, we would have 1.9 million. But we know 125,000 has already been reserved because of the capital reserve fund articles, and so we would have an estimated unassigned fund balance of 1.8 million at year end. I have to let everyone know I was anticipating about $850,000. It is much higher than my initial estimate because of we cut spending because of COVID-19. All right, so this is really unusual to have a number so high. Now I'm going to flip to the next tab here.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you go, Matt, Jamie.
Yeah. So yeah, when
I add these up visually, if you look at the 125,000 for laptops and 130,000 for, that's the additional proposal. Oh, that's 129 plus 540. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
So
I put a line in here.
You had a comment.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay.
So before we get off the spending, this sheet and then step through the other sheets. Dawn, did you have any questions on what's on the sheet as of now?
No, I think, he explained everything real well. You guys asked any question I could think of. So I think I'm good right now. Thank you.
Jim, did you have any further questions?
No, I'm
You're
The
froze.
window's not closing on this. We need to discuss each item. We're not closing the window. We're just going over the sheet right now.
Right.
So there's each item needs to be discussed and approved. So it's okay there'll be another crack at this is what I'm saying. We're trying to give a global overview of what we're looking at for the end of the year, and then we can go through each item.
And then that's why we wanted these extra meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim, what you're thinking, some of my questions. So we're talking about the 94,000 in Chromebooks. The budget request that you sent in was for $40,000 to shift. The difference is being money that's already in the account. I'm doing the math there.
Okay, so basically, let's see. Do I have that up? Oh yeah, I should have put it in as 40,000. You're right. There was already $53,767 that are available. Current appropriation that's available. So that just be an additional $40,353 to make this purchase.
But the cash out is still the 94.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I just wanted clarification on that one.
This is correct. This is correct because it's not included in this number up here. So we'd have to add it back in down here. So,
okay. On the Chromebooks for 94,400 Chromebooks, that's $235 a Chromebook. That would seem kind of high to me for a bulk purchase for Chromebooks. What else would that entail other than just the hardware?
Actually, that's the best price that we could get, and we got 3 different quotes for it.
Yeah, Jamie, I remember 250 in the past.
Yep, that's about
Okay.
right, Jim.
Okay. The concern that I have on the 125,000 for the teachers is I do understand some of our laptops are 7 to 8 years old. And I do understand that there is some refurbishing, and I do understand some of them aren't up to date enough to do cameras, but I would like something a lot firmer than some and some rotation. The last time we talked about this is an IT review going on. Part of that IT review is whether we're going to lease or buy. If we buy $25,000 worth, then I'm not sure what happens to the lease thought process. So I think we need to flesh that out a little bit more as to what is the age of the current inventory and what inventory is being replaced here, so we can have a better understanding of that. Tom, your hand up.
Yeah, Gordon's not technically a part of this meeting, but I've tasked Gordon with auditing all of our technology, top to bottom, to make a recommendation. But what's being replaced with this order is teacher laptops for the purpose of doing remote instruction. And it's my understanding that the computers are between 6 to 8 years old. And Gordon, is that a relatively accurate?
Correct. I would say probably about close to 75% are in the 6+ range in years.
They're just dying.
That didn't come across in the discussion. When I hear some of them, well, okay, it could be that,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
$1,000 worth are in the 7 to 8 range, but we're getting $125,000.
Thanks, Jamie. That's fair. Yeah. That's why I wanted Gordon to speak, because he's so new to his role as the tech director. I'm trying not to put him on the spot until he's had an opportunity to have a hands-on audit of the program. And that's why I was saying earlier. So I would say the vast majority of our computers are way, way outdated.
Yeah, it would be helpful to me, and I think it'd be helpful to the public to, if we're going to be identifying 125,000, to be able to say it's X number of laptops, and we are replacing Y number of laptops that are 8 years old and Z number of laptops that are 9 years old, et cetera, showing that we're taking out the eldest, because I don't think anybody is going to argue with a 7, 8, or 9-year-old laptop needing replacing. So I think that just helps solidify the need, and then the timing, because of COVID, helps nail the urgency of it. So I think those two pieces would be very helpful, at least to me and to others. I will also get on my soapbox. I would not call a washer and dryer a must. I would not call the washer and dryer much of anything. I would not support it.
Can we stay on the computers for just one more second? We're shifting gears too fast, and I just want to help.
Yeah.
I want to help with Gordon, because Gordon, can you just quickly, Jamie, you're right. That's exactly what I've asked Gordon to do, but he needs about 6 months to do it. Right? He has to get his hands on these devices and look at them. And I need him to have the credibility for him comes from the thoroughness of his analysis, but he knows enough already about the teacher laptops. The student devices is a whole other story, and we don't need to get into that tonight. We don't have time. But Gordon, could you just speak to that? Because Jamie, I just want everyone to hear that the process that Jamie just outlined is exactly what I expect as the superintendent, is that we know how many computers are this year many years old, how many are that many years old, exactly who the computers are going to and what the purpose is, because that transparency builds trust. And this is going to be a very expensive process over the next 5 years. Our computers are old and we own them. So Gordon, could you just give Jamie what you feel comfortable sharing at this point?
Yeah, let me, I'm trying to bring up my numbers.
While you're looking for that, Gordon, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Jim.
So part of the reason that we're replacing these laptops is because they've been found to be inadequate to some extent because of the COVID requirements for the distance learning. So wouldn't that qualify for some reimbursement under the federal and state reimbursements?
That's what we're working toward. That's exactly right, Jim. We're hoping to use
Cool.
our, as I said earlier, and this is why when Matt was doing his overview, I was trying not to talk because I wanted to go through the overview and then parse each one of these out because they
Yeah.
each have their own issues. The computer one it's a threefold issue. One is the COVID-19 crisis pushed us to have to use the laptops in a different way that they're really not up to snuff to use. The other issue is that they were really old anyway, and we were going to have to do something about this anyway. The other problem is that if we don't order computers now, we're not going to get any before September because everyone's ordering computers right now. And the fourth point is we definitely will be able to put money, or we're definitely going to try to put the funds toward that we receive toward this initiative to cut down the cost. And if we can't, another option is we could use the facilities revolving fund for this purpose. So that's a real option as well.
And Matt's showing something for us to look at here that's related.
Yeah. So this is the CARES grant that right now the state has an allocation from the federal government. I believe it's like $32 million. It's at the top, and they've allocated it down by school. And right now, this is just the draft number, okay? And so they're estimating $117,291 that's going to come to Sanborn that we can use for cleaning the schools or buying technology, okay? There's a few other items in there, and really the path of least resistance for us to spend all this money is to buy technology. So what I'm proposing is that we either buy teachers' computers out of this or the Chromebooks. Initially, I'm starting off with the Chromebooks because I need to get the order in. We can reimburse the general fund with when the grant's approved, or we can pivot and use this funds for teacher laptops.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just have, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna
Gordon,
stop sharing.
Go ahead, Gordon.
All right, perfect. So rough numbers, just doing a quick search. We have 485 laptops, and based on, or 485 laptops that are in that range of 5+ years old. The 229 of them are, I believe, 6 years old. We have 61 out there that are 7 years old, and 195 that are 5 years old.
And Gordon, do you know, or Matt, how many does a 125 buy? How many units is that?
I think it's gonna be about 100.
About what? That didn't come through.
About 100.
Yeah, 104, give or take.
What kind of laptop? You said these are Dell laptops?
That's a pretty expensive laptop.
Yeah, it is.
They're about $1,000 a piece. They're legitimate devices. They're not Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Teachers can't use Chromebooks for their work. Students can, the teachers can't.
The one I'm on is about 450.
So Jamie, do you think that we could do better with pricing? Do you have an access? We just need to get going. So if you can help us, if you can do it in a day or so, I'd love that.
Don't schools get discounts from, or that's just from Apple, I guess, or what? Or does Dell give discounts to schools?
Well, I think Matt and Gordon spoke with the folks that we normally work with and got the pricing that they felt they could. You got to remember, we are a little bit up against a supply and demand window right now. And I don't know, Gordon, where are we at?
I guess what I'd ask at a price like that, I'd like to know what the specs are. Someone could tell me the specs that we set out for that, because it's going to have everything to do with what you're getting for RAM, what you're getting for memory.
That's right. RAM,
what kind of graphic cards you're using, all this other stuff.
Right.
And what software you're loading it with, et cetera. That would help me better understand what it is that we're looking at.
Yep. Gordon, can you speak to that? Because I know that you and I discussed those things.
Yeah, so let me see if I can pull up the quote real quick. But I believe it had when talking with the guys with Dell, we kind of talked about, software being used and, kind of the longevity of the laptop. And so we did do 16 gig of RAM for these laptops. I'm trying to find the quote with the actual specs in them.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, if you could just circulate that when we get it, because we still got a lot to cover. But to me, that just seems like a big number per box for a laptop. Help me to understand
and part of it,
I understood what's in it.
part of it too
Also,
is, being within a domain, we need to run, oops, sorry.
No, finish up, Gordon, then Jim can go.
With Windows and being in a domain environment, most machines that you buy at, box stores come with Windows home version, where this, includes Pro, which gives us remote desktop ability to join it to our domain type ability. So on top of the actual hardware, there is some, added software price with Windows to be able to do what we need to do as well.
Okay, Jim? Jim, did you have a comment? Can you hear me, Jim Baker?
Yeah, am I gone?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, have you compared it to what the cost, we're going to be replacing these every 3 years. Have you compared the cost to leasing?
Good question.
I have not gotten that far yet. I was going to talk with somebody, but then we held off on that process.
Okay.
That is a process that I want to look into going forward, Jim. But what we decided, I think, for this process was that because we needed to, if you lease something, my feeling is this: if we lease computers and the cost is almost identical to what it would cost to buy them, I only want to lease them if the maintenance is included in the lease, just like a car. If I lease a car, I don't want to have to pay for anything but gas, right? I don't own it when it's done. So I don't lease a car for that reason. But I think I asked Gordon to really dive into what bigger leasing options would look like. And I want everyone to know that that's certainly on the table and will be a big part of the strategic planning process and the capital plan for technology is leasing moving forward.
I'm on
Right, and can I?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. My laptop is between 5 and 6 years old, and I have no problems with it. It was about $1,000 new. So I don't know what the issue is on the 5-year-old ones, but that's just me.
You're not, well, first of all, you've had connectivity issues in all the meetings that we've been in, but I don't know if
No, that's not the laptop. That's the internet.
Yeah. So the issues include that some of our computers don't have cameras. Some of them process incredibly slow, and they can't run the software that teachers need to teach. And so I'll just say this, and you'll see this in the plans, unless computers change, 6 years is the max in a school. After 6 years, you're really hurting unless you bought a massive machine at like $3,000, like an Apple full, like Jamie said, with maximum RAM, maximum processor, maximum. The stuff they're using in the AutoCAD program is a totally separate beast, but we have computers that are 14 years old in those rooms right now.
Uh-huh.
So we really have a technology rotation issue. And the only way this is going to get better is to set up a 5-year plan and follow it and fund it. Right. The problem is that when budgets get cut, the first thing they go to is, give the laptops 1 more year.
Sure.
It's just like the roofing, it's put us in this horrible situation that we want to mitigate. But Jim, that's a great question. And I think it's really important for folks in the community to understand that computers are being used for relatively high level processing. I mean, Matt is processing things at a much higher level than an English teacher would be processing, but a science teacher is probably processing more. There are variables of gray within the schools too, that different people use them more than others.
So, I mean, let's move on because so there's still questions on the technology piece, clearly, that we're looking for some information on. That's helpful information that you provided, Gordon. If you could get the specs, I would find that, and then I could ask any questions around that.
Yep.
Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, I'd like
I-
to, yeah, that's good, Jamie, but I just need to know from Gordon, how soon do you need to know to get your foot in the door for an order?
Well, they've been constantly reaching out to me about the status of it because of this. Right now, I think if we were to order today, it would probably be at least late July before we would get it in. And then at that point, you figure we have to, do the work on our end on these laptops. We need to get them provisioned for each user, software installed. So at that point, it's a stretch.
Can you give us one more week so that Jamie can get the specs and then we can bring it to the board next Wednesday? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah. And I do have two more quick comments to make too. One with the price and one with, the over the years with the laptop. Part of that price also does include, I believe, a 3-year pro support with them, which covers, accidental damage, I believe. And, if the motherboard on the laptop dies, they'll actually send a tech out to come out and replace it.
Oh.
So that's kind of something you don't get at a box store when you buy, a $400 laptop, something like that. So you get that added benefit of it, and that does add money to the price. The other thing with, the struggle with the current laptops and then moving with new is as Windows updates their OS, they typically tend to be more resource heavy. So the current laptops that we're running right now are not even the stock laptops ordered. We have replaced hard drives with solid state drives, have upgraded memory on these things just to keep them running. So they're not stock, the way they were purchased 6, 7, 8 years ago.
I'm sure that's all accidental on the computer maker's fault, that the OS systems take more and more hardware to run and more and more cost.
You missed
All right.
an opportunity, Jamie. If we could have grabbed that one in 1998.
Yeah, let's jump down to the next tab there, Matt, so we can step through that, because I see the financial system too, because I'm sure that we want to get that wrapped up for the meeting that's coming up next week also. So I want to make sure we have some time for that too.
Okay, so I just going to run through the spreadsheet really quickly, the remaining spreadsheets. Okay, this spreadsheet right here just helps me calculate the estimated tax rate, and there are a lot of estimates in here. Okay, so when we talk about, I'm going to talk about the tax rate in a second. It's my best guess at this moment. So I'm going to flip here to the unassigned fund balance. So as part of our discussion for unassigned fund balance, we talked about the estimated contingency amount at year end that the board can reserve for either emergency expenditure or to reduce the tax rate in the future. The net assessment is the amount of the local tax revenue that is being assessed to all the taxpayers in the town. We can retain up to 2.5% of that amount, or $569,000. So if we were to use the available funds that I'm estimating for year end, and we put aside $500,000, then $1.3 million is available to reduce the tax rate. What that would mean is it's a 1 cent increase to Kingston, or $3 to a home that is a $300,000 home, 7 cent reduction to the tax rate, or $33 to a $300,000 home in. Okay. So that's all I have.
One question. Jamie?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Matt, that 500,000 contingency, does that equate to the 400,000 that we reserved this past year?
Well, the 400,000 automatically gets closed out to the unassigned fund balance.
Yeah, I understand that, but what is this 500?
This would be the new amount that, like, if the school board votes in an amount, I'm going to recommend up to 569,000. But say the school board were to approve 500,000 to get rolled over, like they did last year, this is what the tax impact would be.
And what is that? Why was it 400 last year, 500 this year? What's the difference?
Last year we asked for a larger amount, and 400,000 was a settled amount that the board agreed upon.
I thought the 2.5% was the most we could hold back.
It
That's
is.
right. It is, and it's
Yes.
$69,000.
Okay, so where's the 500? I'm still not following the 500.
The 500 is just a rounding down of the 569.
Oh, okay, okay.
If we only
All
did
right.
500, then that's what the number would be.
Okay, thank you.
If I were to retain the full amount of the 2.5%,
Yep.
it would be a 6-cent increase to Kingston and a 5-cent decrease to.
Okay.
Tom, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was wondering, I'm sure the public is wondering this as well. The 400,000 that we held back for this year, when that goes back to taxpayers, does that get added to the $1,300,000? So they really are getting back 1,700,000 because that goes back to taxpayers at the end of this year.
Isn't
Yeah,
that part of the 1,000,003?
This is what he's
That's
showing
already in
here.
there. Okay. I just wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure that it was clear to the community that that's already been factored in. Basically, what Matt's saying is if we take care of the business items that need to be taken care of at the end of this year, and we save 500,000 in the event that we have revenue shortfalls next year, we're going to be giving a cut in taxes to Kingston and Newton. So Newton will save $33 a home, and Kingston will, what was the change for Kingston, Matt?
It's up a little bit, actually.
Up
$3.
by $3. Now that's an estimate based on last year's. We can't control the valuations and all the different things that go on the municipal side. But I have to say that I hope folks don't get used to this because this is certainly feeling a lot like Christmas as a superintendent. This is not going to happen every year, and I want to be really clear about that. The more we tighten up the budget, the more we make contingency funds work the way they're supposed to. This will not, I'm afraid of this because this is what creates the up and down. So this year we give this back, and then next year we do a really good job with budgeting, and all of a sudden people's taxes go up by $60. They're like, what? Give me a break. And they don't remember that we saved them 33 the year before. And that's a conversation that we need to be very careful with as a board. I certainly strongly encourage the finance committee and the members of the school board to withhold that $500,000 because if we don't, the swing is going to be too great when it tightens up. That's just my advice.
Yep.
I think, Matt,
Understood.
great job, by the way.
So Matt, one other question, if you can go to the CY appointment, and you don't really have to get into a lot of detail. You can just put this in the back of your mind for an explanation, maybe for next week. On the other tab, the CY apportionment tab, you have a estimated revenues up top, operating budget that's 30 over here on the C6, 36,415,372.
Mhm.
I'm just going to be asking, I'm not sure why that's different than the operating budget in which we track revenues and costs in our monthly updates of those. They show a total of 35 million and change.
Yeah, so this is going to be the tax rate that's coming up in this December. So this is what was voted this past March. So it would be the annual district meeting of 2020, and if you look at like Article 3, 4, 9, 10,
Bingo. Okay, thank you.
the numbers.
Thanks. I
Okay.
didn't know either.
Yeah, so when I'm calculating the tax rate, it's more forward looking and what you're going to expect this coming December.
Okay. Can you jump us next to the financial system, please?
The financial system, yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's going to be a hot item too if you're going to have time to be working on that in the summer.
Yeah.
And then we did talk some about the COVID-19, the money's available. So clearly money's available. Any time, energy, and effort for people can work on grants for that. We would dearly like to get whatever money is possibly available.
All right, I'm gonna share the spreadsheet that you created, Jamie, and I updated it a little bit.
Yep.
Okay. So there are one-time costs and then there are recurring costs associated with the system. The one-time costs total $76,000. Recurring costs total $10,373. recurring costs, what they are maintenance items and then the hosting fee. So what we're going to be asking is that instead of hosting it internally on a server at the school district, we're going to ask Tyler Technologies to host it on their site in Maine. Okay, and that's what the $7,500 is. So currently we're paying $16,958 in annual maintenance on the system. So it's going to be on the recurring fees. It's going to be $6,585 in savings annually. Now, if you want to do a return on investment, it's 11.6 years just in dollars alone. However, the system will allow us other efficiencies, such as being able to pay our bills by ACH. I really want to get out of the business of cutting checks, issuing postage, buying envelopes, when we can pay vendors electronically. Our current system, we can't do that. We also have a lot of better reporting, internal reporting. And then right now I'm talking with Tyler Technology for the module for taxpayers to go in and look at our system and get some historical information. They're not going to be able to see everything. I think it's going to be more or less a summary level. But and my guess is for a cost for that, it's going to be like $8,000. I spoke to Jim earlier about that. He has some ideas on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
I was wondering, I'd asked Matt if anybody had ever, from the public, had ever asked him for financial information. And he said, no, only people on the budget committee and school board. So what was suggested was that summaries could be put up on a school website from the manifests. And then if people did ask for additional information, then we could go to that option that's going to cost $8,000.
Interesting. Okay. I
But
understand what you're saying.
But there also has to be the capacity for people on budget committee and the school board to be able to look deeper at the manifest information as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Matt gets scores of questions every time a manifest gets issued.
So let me just a couple of points on that. One is we still need to understand what that is, and two is, Matt, on time and attendance. I don't know that we really lose recurring fees on that, because from our prior discussions, I think we probably end up sticking with the current time and attendance. So there's probably more there that we need to flesh out. The other thing I'd point out from the simple payback is the reason I had a simple payback in my calculation to begin with is because I knew that something was off, because there was no way that we're getting the payback that I was looking at. Didn't make sense to me. From a audience perspective that might be watching, one is not going to expect to see a reasonable return on payback on something that is replacing a system that is at end of life. This would not, an 11.6 simple payback would not warrant an investment if you're just doing it for an investment for a return on investment. That's not a number that's useful in terms of making a financial decision. However, the situation is the current system will not be supported and needs to be replaced. So it's not a matter of, is this an investment that's going to give me money back? It's a matter of, I need a financial system to run the district, and the current one isn't going to last. So I need one.
Jamie?
Go ahead.
There's also, if you look at the comparisons, the current system versus the proposed system, there is a whole bunch of features that we're going to get with this new system that
Right.
the other one doesn't provide. And if you look at the annual costs, it's about a 39% savings over what we're paying currently in terms of the annual recurring costs.
I think there's more. I don't think it's that big because of time and attendance. It still has to be factored in, it'd be my guess. Matt, go ahead.
No, I'm talking between the cost of what we're paying annually now, $16,957 versus the $10,373.
Yeah, so I don't think, but I don't think everything's in. Yeah, I don't think everything's in. So let Matt.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I did dig into the time and attendance, and basically I was wrong. And in my initial analysis, I really thought that that Tyler Technologies had a system that was comparable to what we currently have, and they don't. And they even recommended that we stay with Frontline and just import the data from Frontline into the accounting software when we do payroll.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
So that 47,000 for Frontline, that's not going to change.
It's not going to change.
So if that stays the same, we're looking at a $75,000 or whatever it was, $76,000 investment to buy this package. And if we went somewhere else, it could cost 300,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's based upon my experience buying these systems in the past.
Yeah, from my perspective, an implementation plan, which includes sensitive information, I think Superintendent Ambrose brought that up previously, that, you know, you're talking people, social security numbers and other things being transferred and managed, et cetera. You don't do that lackluster. This seems reasonable to me. I would ask, Matt, if we could have this ready for the board meeting on next Wednesday, and the finance meeting next Wednesday. And also just if you could factor in that time and attendance so we can see it in full, then I think that we take a look at it as a finance committee, intent to vote on it on the 3rd, and then bring that to the school board if so, and it will be necessary at that price, bring that to the school board that afternoon.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
The one item, and I've got 4 minutes left, the one item that we did not hit yet is the negative lunch balances. Everything else on the list we kind of hit at in the different discussions around the spreadsheet, et cetera. So everything else I think has been addressed. Is there a large negative balance out there, Matt? What's the situation with lunch balances? I know
Let's see.
point in time, and I'm not sure, particularly with COVID, what has happened to all of that.
I think Tom needs to be unmuted.
Yeah, Tom.
I try to mute myself as much as possible because it slows me down.
We tried it too, but we're not as successful as you are.
Jamie, I think that's like the teapot calling the other teapot black.
I'm pretty certain it is.
No, the whole thing for the lunch balances is this is where we're at in process. I told Brian on Tuesday to talk to every kid at graduation who has a lunch balance. There's a policy for the lunch balances. And the only way we can forgive a lunch balance, really, I feel, is that the board needs to waive the policy. And that would happen at the 3rd because graduation's on the 5th. And there are some kids who truly can't pay the lunch balances. So whatever figure Matt gives you today, I just need you to know, in case your jaw drops, that Brian's working intimately, family by family per the policy, and talking to them and collecting the funds and holding their gowns and diplomas and telling them, you know, if you don't straighten this out, you can't graduate, because that's really ultimately what the policy says. I think the question of humanity is going to come into play for us as a team next Wednesday, when we have to decide what are we going to do about some of these poor folks that can't pay. And let's see where we're at. You know, I can certainly send you an update once I know more next Monday from Brian. I kind of told Brian I wanted him to clean this up by Monday or Tuesday morning at the latest, so that I could get you in the loop ahead of time.
Question.
Go ahead, Jim.
So if in fact there's some forgiveness involved there, would that qualify for free and reduced lunch reimbursements?
No.
Comes out of the general fund.
Okay.
Correct.
And normally, just so everyone knows, some of this is COVID related, and there will probably be more this year, and we'll certainly put in for that with the federal reimbursement system, but I'm not expecting a lot. We have kids every year that we have to forgive. It's a standard situation that's really hard. And there are kids that can't afford to pay it in families. And then there are other ones that we're chasing down and being really difficult about because we know better. So it's a really tough thing, because you're pushing on one family that you know can probably afford to pay for it. And then you're trying to the judgment of it is really hard, you know, and it can get a little gray. So Brian is working really hard on this week, which is a typical activity this week. Just for the public's sense, I'm making this I want to make sure that this is clean and that the board knows exactly what we had, what we collected, what we did. And I just want it to be transparent, because that's fair.
And how big are the numbers that we're talking?
Okay. So the number I have is district-wide, all grades, all schools, as one big giant number. And right now we're owed $13,965.84 from all students that have an unpaid balance.
But the only balance that's critical right now is the seniors.
Yeah.
So that's a small slice of that amount.
Do we
Yeah.
know what that number is by chance?
For the seniors, I do not have it for just the seniors. I can see it's interdispersed in here, and I can see the grade level, and it's there. I want to say it's not even 1/12 of the overall.
Yeah, that'd be a nice number to have if we're talking about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because in a forgiveness scenario, I would tend to normally be an SOB and say, okay, people earn their negatives and they deal with it. I'd like to know.
He said that, not me. For the record,
the seniors have been through hell here. I mean, so I'd be much less than my normal SOB self, but it'd be good to have that information.
Yep.
I'll give you that info and email it to you. This is a preview for next week. We're just giving you a heads up. That's all this is.
That's good.
Okay.
So that's fine. Any final comments? We just hit 5 o'clock and there's a dinner and a lake to be had is my understanding out there in the world. So I don't want to encroach. Matt?
Can I get approval for that budget transfer for $40,353 for the Chromebooks?
Can I get a motion on that? Does somebody want to make that motion?
I'll move that motion.
Sorry, I have no idea what that noise is in my house right now.
So long as it's not somebody with a face mask on.
I have no idea what just kicked on. I'm down in the basement. I have no idea what that noise is.
Do you have a sump pump?
No. Oh, you know what? It's probably the dehumidifier. Sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I couldn't
Don,
hear.
are you interested in seconding the motion?
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to second and then that kicked on. So it
that's
freaked
fine.
me out.
So we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussions on the Chromebooks? If not, then let's go to a vote.
One question.
Go ahead.
So the reimbursements that we talked about for technology, when are those expected?
Okay, so we're waiting for the state to open up the in the grant system the application to enter in information for this $117,000. So it allows us to put in the grant application expenditures that happened in the past to that are COVID-19 related, and this is one of them. Okay, so if we do get the money, it's going to end up becoming just a general fund revenue, and it's going to end up increasing the unassigned fund balance.
Okay. And has any money been in that area or that kind of grant or reimbursement been received as of now, as of today? Nothing.
No.
Okay.
No, you have to recognize that the CARES Act was only approved at the end of March.
Mhm.
It's taken this amount of time for the federal government to disperse the funds to the state. State's scrambling with education right now, and they have to modify their website to accommodate the application process.
Okay. Thanks.
Further comments, discussion? Okay, then let's take a roll call vote in order of how I see you. Don,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I will also go aye. So unanimous vote in favor. Any further questions or comments before I wrap up and adjourn?
I'm just glad we're having some extra meetings right now. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, and we're set up to do it straight through the end of June if necessary. If not, then that's fine. We each get that out back in life. But and I don't know from a next meeting perspective, Don. I'll wait to hear back from you of your discussion with Pam,
Right.
and then we'll go from there.
Okay, perfect.
What do we have?
All right.
Two more school board meetings in June, right?
At least one and scheduled two. Yeah,
Okay.
We'll probably need the second one this year with COVID.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well then let's adjourn. It's 5:04 and we're officially adjourned.